There is a fundamental difference between being strict and being rude. Being strict is an action. It stems from your principles. It is your nature. But being rude is a reaction. It's not an action. It's a reaction. If you are walking and you see somebody and you don't smile, maybe you are just being strict. You don't want to smile. After all, it's not written in any book or any code of conduct anywhere that you ought to show your denture to every single person who crosses your path. Fine, you don't want to smile, no problem. So if you see somebody and you don't smile, big deal. You are just being strict, maybe. In your mind, you could be trying to make a point, but that's beside the point. But if somebody smiles at you and you don't smile back, that is being rude. There's a huge difference. If somebody smiles at you and you don't smile back, that is being rude. When you look at somebody and you don't smile, it says a lot about your mannerisms, says a lot about maybe something about your nature. It says a lot about your etiquette, social etiquette. So it's not necessarily being rude, it just is who you are. But it says a great deal about you, by the way. When you don't even have the courtesy to smile, you are not making any point other than making yourself look ridiculous. Yes, if you smile at somebody and the person doesn't smile back, which means they are being rude, once, twice, 3 times, 5 times, you can stop smiling then, if you so want. Because you don't have to put up with their rudeness. Any behavior that you put up with will accentuate. A simple way to encourage any behavior is to accept it. The moment you accept a certain behavior, it just starts to build itself in the other person. Many years ago, I wrote this story on my blog that I have shared with you here as well. 2 researchers from the USA go to this place in Japan where they had a certain temple of Buddha, where the master, the original founder of the temple, was known to have very critical views about praying to Buddha. He believed that everything is within you and you don't have to pray to Buddha or idolize him in any way. But it so happened that actually even during when he was alive, if he would see a Buddha statue, he would even spit at it. If he would see a picture or any wooden thing, artifact, he will burn it. He would say, I don't want you resting on crutches in the name of prayers and things. But when he died, his disciples made a statue out of him. And they sculpted this very nice statue. They turned him into an idol, and they started worshipping him. The exact opposite of what he stood for throughout his life. Now, these 2 researchers were very critical about this abbot, the founder, that somebody who spat at Buddha's idol does not deserve to be worshipped. But out of curiosity, to understand their teachings more, they went to that place to check it out. The then head monk took these 2 researchers around, and apparently it's a true story. Took them around, and then he came to the room, the prayer room, where the idol of the founder was there. And he said, the head monk, I'm now going to bow down in front of my master. And the researcher said, but he's the same guy who used to spit at Buddha. How can you bow down before him? And he said, sirs, I prefer to bow down. If you prefer to spit, please spit. And when you behave a certain way, please understand it's your choice. Being rude is to make the other person feel low. Being strict is to simply do what you stand for. And there is a big difference between the two. Nevertheless, I'll give you 2 golden rules, okay? You have to ask yourself one question. When you think the other person has acted rudely, I really want you to think about one thing. That is, do you think you're finding it rude because your request has been turned down or your demand has not been met? Or do you think you're finding it rude because they spoke to you in a certain manner? It's very easy to dismiss somebody as rude when they don't do what you ask them to do, or when they don't put you on a pedestal even though you would think that they are lowly creatures and you deserve all the respect in the world. So is it that the other person is rude because you think they didn't treat you fairly? Long time back, I explained the difference between a request and a demand. A request remains a request when it's turned down and you don't hold the other person to ransom for it. It's a request. Can you give me a glass of water? No. Okay, I'll get it and take it myself. You requested something, it was turned down. Can you give me a glass of water? No. How dare you? I asked you so politely, you still can't do this for me? This is the most common misconception people have about request, that somehow if you say it very politely, it ought to be done. It's still a demand, no matter how politely it was made, if you think it's your right to see it fulfilled. That's the difference between being strict and being rude. If you think the other person's rude because they didn't do what you asked them to do, then probably it's not rudeness. They exercised their freedom of choice. And now you have a choice to do what you want to do. This patient was very scared of medicine. And somehow he always had trouble gulping down tablets. It just get stuck to his mouth and all bitter taste. And he didn't know what to do about it. But he felt sick. He went to the doctor. And the doctor said, "Oh, I checked your pulse. I'll have to write you some medication." He said, "Please don't write anything bitter. Please don't write anything bitter." The doctor said, "Don't worry. It won't be bitter. It'll just be medication. You just have to be careful and take it." But he said, "Please, doctor," he held his wrist as he was writing the prescription. "Please," he said, "don't write anything bitter." And the doc said, "Let me write the medication, or I can prescribe you 1 kilogram of chocolate. Would that be all right?" A medicine is going to taste bitter. That's all I'm trying to say. And to treat you, if you're sick, you need medication. And you need a lot of love. And you also need a lot of rest. And you need a lot of care. But even with all the factors, you still need the medication. And medicine is going to be bitter. The most absurd view in the world would be that everybody should say yes to me. And then if everybody says yes to me, that person is then a great person, or else they deserve to go to hell. Deep somewhere, whether people believe in it or not, that's how most of us operate in the world out there. All that mask of politeness is simply nothing but a fake facade that we have put up. In the guise of that politeness, we are insisting the other person do what we are asking them to do. Why? Because it matters to me. Second question, golden rule. What would you do if you were in the other person's shoes? Really, what would you do? This person said, I give 3 minutes. I don't even know how I'm able to give 3 minutes as of today. I'm not guaranteeing anything tomorrow. There are only so many hours in a day. And it's not that I give only 3 minutes. I am always mindful of how much time I need to give to do my job effectively. Sometimes 30 seconds is enough. Sometimes it's more like 20 minutes. So the second question is, what would I do if I'm in the other person's shoes? Would I behave the same way? Would I do something different? It's a true story, but the source could not be verified, but it was first reported something around 1890, which was later attributed to many people, but I don't know where originally it actually happened. But in a carriage, in a train carriage, a man was sitting and smoking a cigar, and a woman was sitting next to her. And she was quite upset that he's smoking in the train, and she didn't like the smell, and she kept moving, shifting about in her seat, and she really looked at him very angrily, like she was mad at him. Some people think, I hope you know that when you're looking at somebody in a very angry fashion, the other person doesn't care, doesn't know. You are thinking, I've made my point, I'm looking at you like this. The other person doesn't know, and they couldn't care less. So she was very angry. And this man somehow realized that this woman is very angry, but she kept seated there, and she kept implying with her gestures, movements, that this man was making her very uncomfortable, and that it was wholly inappropriate what he was doing. By the way, it was not a non-smoking carriage or anything like that. Towards the end of her journey, she said, excuse me, if you were my husband, I would have given you a dose of poison. You are such an obnoxious person. And the man took a giant puff of his cigar. He made some rings in the air. And then he said, Madam, if you were my wife, I would gladly drink the poison. I'd rather be dead than be married to you. So what would you do if you were in the shoes of the other person? Would you be acting as Buddha-like as you expect the other person to act? Or would you also show your true color? But regardless of how firm, how strict you are, you've just got to remember one thing. Take it easy. You don't have to take all our desires, all our demands, all our requests so seriously. I read somewhere, if you're looking for a good hand to help you, look at the end of your arm. You'll find something quite capable. Use it. Rather than asking the other person, do this for me and do that for me. To be self-sufficient is the greatest reward you can give to yourself. Then it won't matter. In all matters, I'm saying, emotionally, physically, spiritually, every other way. Learn to count on yourself. And if somebody is being rude to you, I've given you the 2 golden rules, apply them. You will arrive at some conclusion. If you still feel they are being rude to you, you don't have to deal with them. Or if it is the job demands you have to deal with certain rude people at a workplace, then you just got to be professional and polite. You don't have to like them. It's not like you have to click a selfie and make it the wallpaper. You just got to do what you got to do, and they are doing what they got to do. They are doing. Everybody has a job they need to focus on. Let them do theirs, you do yours,